welcome to Laughing Monkey Music Show. Today we have a special guest, Eric Gales. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great, man. How are you?
I'm awesome. I want to thank you for coming on. I'm a big fan, and I've been a fan of you since 2013. I think when I first heard you play with Doug Pinnick, when
Oh,
you
okay.
guys did the Pinnick Gales. Oh,
Oh yeah.
I'm a big
Oh
fan of
yeah.
Doug, and Doug's been on a lot, and he's talked about you. So it was only a matter of time before I tracked you down
Oh,
and had
nice,
you on.
nice.
So those were my first two introduction albums that you did, and then I went back and listened to your other music. You've for people that aren't aware, your style you categorize as being blues, but you're not really. You're like blues, rock, metal, funk. I can't put
E- e-
a rapper on
Everything.
you.
It's
Yeah, actually,
everything.
there's rap in your albums too. You have everything in there. There are no rules.
Yeah, yeah. I'm inspired and influenced by it all. So it all comes out in the pot of gumbo.
It does. I think one of the things that always gets kind of it can be lazy or whatever. Some people always compare somebody to certain artists, but I do think fairly some people compare you to Hendrix. I know you love Hendrix, but there's something different about your playing that it's not the style. So you could emulate him, but your style, it's more like your energy, the vibe you put off, the creativity and the freedom, I feel is more symbolic or honoring Hendrix. If that makes sense to
Yeah,
you.
I think that's safe to say. I think that's safe to say. I mean, anybody that says that Hendrix is not an influence on them, they're just flat out lying. It's just it's what it is. But just a really important fact to be known is, it's important for each and every individual to be, who they are first and foremost. Uh, I think the best way to culminate and evolve into who you are is by initially learning and picking up the stuff that you hear from people that you're inspired by, and that's starts from with me. It started with trying to emulate every single note, every single movement, every single string broke, every single sound, every single thing possible that the people that I saw were doing. And, somewhere up the road, has to be an implementation of your own DNA within that, that determines who and what your legacy is. When somebody hear, two or three notes played by you, they know that it's you. Uh, so that to me is, ultimately, I think how the osmosis of it is, and also with that being said, yeah, yeah, I am. I'm inspired by Hendrix. I'm inspired by Stevie Ray. I'm inspired by my mom and dad. I'm inspired by, gospel. I'm inspired by all kinds of people, but none of them am I trying to be the next them. I'm trying to be the first Eric Gale. So, that's
I hear that.
that's the most important thing.
I hear that, and I guess what we just want to bring up is because people always like to look to glom things onto people. And I always try to avoid or confronting it and saying that kind of not fair because when I first heard you play, obviously with Pinnick and then other stuff, I never thought, God, he sounds like Hendrix. But what I do think reminded me of Hendrix is your innovation and the fact that you play the
Exactly.
guitar. That
I
is what
like how you
reminded
put
me.
that.
I never
Yeah.
heard Hendrix in your sound. I mean, obviously, you do a good Hendrix. I mean, you do probably one of my favorite Hendrix, like hands
Thank you.
down. Like, you're welcome.
I
But I
appreciate
mean,
it.
there's a handful of guitars. You've already made yourself into my top 10 lifetime guitars. And when you do stuff like when you slash, you get up on stage, you do the Hendrix tour stuff. Like, it's just you've got it down. Like with the feeling that
Thank you,
feels like
man.
you're welcome. It's very emotional, and I think a true musician is playing with emotion. Then the sound, it comes with the emotion.
Yeah, I think of all the times that I have heard the reference of myself to Hendrix in whatever facet that it might may have been, I think that the way that you have just represented
Mhm.
it is one of the most welcoming and appreciated. I appreciate them all, but I think it's one of the most welcoming and receivable fortes that I have heard, and it's basically, I received that you're saying that the energy,
Yeah.
the whatever that word I'm looking for, that whatever that knack or whatever it was that Hendrix had that just had a person the capability of sitting there with their jaw dropped and like not knowing what the hell it is that I'm looking at, but whatever it is, it's mesmerizing. It's amazing. That is a close remnant to what Hendrix did, and I'm receiving that as very similar to what you're saying, and I'm inclined to I'm inclined to agree with that, because I sit back and watch, footage of some of my shows, and it even happens in real time while I'm performing, and I am observing what I'm doing as if I'm a person that's in the audience watching my show in real time, and
Mhm.
I occasionally catch myself saying, "Wow, damn, this is fucking awesome! Like, what the hell is going on?" Because I say that because I have no idea what I'm going to do until after it's done. So I'm surprised. I'm just as surprised as anybody else with watching what's happening. So I get that feeling from watching what I do, and I think that would be a hammer on the head depiction of how I would describe it.
No, it is, and I can say easily. I started playing guitar late in life, and I'm not very good. But easily frustrated me as much as when trying to learn Hendrix. So like I can't even actually, because for anything you can learn, like you, I'd sit down and see some of your lessons online,
Hmm.
and you're like, you can play like this, and because you play upside down to some people, after you've got your own hands, your own forms. It is so incredible. You've created almost your own way. I don't even know how to put my hands when I get the guitar. I'm like, I couldn't even how to figure out how to do that. And to me, it's like that makes it just like one step even higher because I'm like, not only are you doing it beyond well guitar, you've created your own way. You're not even doing it the way everyone else does it.
Yeah, and that does happen. I mean, believe it. I mean, my brothers also play left-handed upside down and backwards, but when I picked it up, I don't think it was a conscious decision that I picked it up the way that my brothers were playing. I just picked it up in the way that felt comfortable to me, and so happened it was this way that was very taboo to the rest of the world. Um, very unusual, and I don't know if people bear this in mind when they observe me playing, but um, 95 to 97% of the influences that I picked up stuff from play completely different from how I play. So,
Yeah.
with that being said, the drive and the overwhelming fact of how inspired I was to figure out and learn what it was that I was listening to was the main focus of what kept me in that room with the door closed for 4 or 5 days straight until I figured it out. And that is what is going to keep the magnet stuck together to the brain of someone that's highly motivated by this thing called music, this thing called guitar playing, this thing called musician or composing or writing or acting or whatever. I think it starts from being completely inspired by somebody that you saw, that you loved what it was the hell that they were doing, whether it's a Steph Curry shooting ball, whether it's a race car driver or a bowling a cat or a pool player or whoever. You sit back as just think back when you were a kid and you just remember when you were just awestruck by you seeing something that just blew your mind. That was what lit the fire right there. So having that be something that's at the forefront, that's what I try to tell people, every single time when they, approach wanting to learn from me or learn from something that they see me do. Yeah, just keep in the front part of the brain that moment that you first had that light bulb pop on, that had your mind blown and made you want to go pick the guitar up. Some say, or make you go throw it away. but
And that's I mean, I've seen you play, and I'm like, man, I just want to throw it out the window. I'm like, come on, he's playing it. Not only is he playing it the right way, but he's playing like backwards and upside down. And I can't even get the right chording. Oh,
Yeah. I do get that, and I have had
that's a compliment right
brushes of.
there.
Yeah, it is. I have had. I can honestly say there's never been a time. I mean, if it has been said out of my mouth, it was very jokingly that I did say it. It was because of the overwhelming amount of inspiration and just sheer, just man, just wow factor of how inspired that I was by what it was that I saw. but more or less, it made me just go and say, man, I got to go and sit down with this guitar and figure that out, figure this riff out, or figure this tune out, or just go and just shed or noodle or whatever. And that's some of the most inspirational. Like if that could be bottled up, man, that is that's powerful. I remember them
Lightning in
days,
a
man.
bottle.
I remember them days, man, and I still do have them when I do sit down. I don't really play as much or as often as people think that I would when I'm at home or not on tour. You know, I very rarely engage myself with an instrument unless it has something to do with me doing a session or we rehearsing for you know, some shows coming up, or I'm having the band, you know, work up new tunes or whatever. Other than that, you know, I'm as far away from, you know, but they're within arm's reach. But you know, I very rarely ever pick up the guitar until it's time to get with it. And for me, the longer that I'm away from it, the fresher it is for me.
I hear that.
So that's, you know, maybe a little weird. I mean,
No,
you have those type that like gotta get there 2, 3, 4 hours of, you know, finger practices and stuff
mhm.
like that in every day, and that's awesome too. But for me, it's kind of the opposite for me. Um, but you know, I mean, but whatever works for you is what works for you. But yeah, I
Have
mean, yeah, that's kind of my
you
take on that whole situation.
well, you got 19 albums and even touring. I know, like I just say half your peers are the same way. They're like, I put it down and they're like, oh, I got a tour coming up. I got to dust the guitar up, get some calluses on my finger. I haven't played guitar. And these guys are also guitar players. You're like, it's unbelievable. I do have this made me think, go back a little bit. When you started playing the guitar, and at some point, you obviously you realize that the way you were learning it was different, way different than anybody
Hmm.
else. At that point, did you realize either, because like if you're reading sheet music, because people aren't aware, not only is it up backwards technically, but it's the string.
Yeah, you're reading upside down
I
too.
mean, so you're reading upside down and playing it an opposite way. So to me, did
Absolutely.
you have to every song were you saying at that point you either say, A, do I stop this and go the other way, go with everybody else because it would be easier to learn if I
Never,
okay, so okay, that was
never.
the question. Or you're like, you know what, I've got to transpose this for me because this is it. This is what I'm doing, and I got to
If any,
transpose everything
yeah, if
backwards,
any,
or you know what
yeah,
I'm saying,
yeah,
inverted.
After a certain point, it just was natural
Oh,
that
really? Like a
that's
foreign
how.
language? Like you're
Yeah,
just thinking another
absolutely,
language?
absolutely,
That might
absolutely.
be another
Second,
your new
second
thing. You
nature.
know that? Your new
Yeah.
guitar language you could teach the people. That might be the new future.
Yeah,
You know,
it just was what it was. This is how I ascertain the information that I'm trying to learn, and this is how I got to do it. And you know, for me, you know, I never had any other way to compare it to. So you know, I never had the comparison of initially playing right-handed and then a couple of years in turning it over and playing left-handed as a comparison. So this was how it was from the gate for me. So
right?
you know, this never was. I don't know what, you know, how
It's
people
different.
think
Yeah.
that it's difficult, because for me, you know, it was as easy as a baby eating candy, you know, for me, you know. So I mean, again, I do think there's a heavy amount of, you know, this thing called a gift or a blessing or an anointing or a touch that the big
Yes.
man or big woman upstairs passed out. You know, and I was in line and had my hand up, and he tapped me on the shoulder, and there it was at an early age that, you know, came with who I was, along with just coming, you know, into a family that music was heavily involved, and it was heavily saturated in my home. I'm the youngest of five. My mom and dad and gospel and growing up in the church, and you know, just the upbringing of the involvement of music, man, all played a big factor and a role into, you know, who I turned out to be as a guitar player and a musician.
You've changed a lot over the years. Like one thing I love about you also is you're a fighter. Not only because I go on with the guitar because the people that don't play guitar don't realize how innovative it is and how unbelievable it is that you do it like that. But on top of that, like you've battled addiction publicly. You've shared your moments vulnerable, which helps people, inspires people.
Yeah,
You've
yeah,
gone, you've battled the record industry like most artists, but you've kind of won because you're still here. That means you win.
yeah, yeah,
You've
yeah,
because you went through the times. Now we're talking like in back in the days of the 70s and 60s, where there was like the record deals and all that garbage in the 80s, and then it all flipped over and got ripped off. But you came out in a time where there was an influx, and it's continued to just you know explode in these new patterns where it's like streaming, not streaming, CDs, like everything's all over the place, downloads,
Hmm.
and you consider, and a record label probably telling you, you need to be a rock guy, you need to be a funk guy, you're the blues
Hmm.
guy. You're like, I'm a musician. So I think you've had that challenge while you've dealt with at times with your addictions, but you still, it's almost like you've had like three different layers of your career, like where you, the early you, and then the struggling you, but struggling you still dominated with great music.
Wow, I appreciate it, man. I
And
appreciate it.
that I don't think, and I've gone back. You're welcome. I mean, I've gone through fan of your music, but when I did this for the interview, I went back and just went through all your music, and I'm like, there is not. I'm not shouting you on. I'm like, there's not a point where you're like, oh, this was this bad album, because there are artists, that had addictions. You're like, that's not my favorite album. I
Yeah.
can't hear the music. I can't hear the music. You always pull together for
Wow.
the music. Um,
Wow. Thank you for that. Thank you.
you're welcome. I think where I know the difference would be. Oh, you still there? Lost your friend.
No, yeah, yeah,
Is
yeah. Sorry.
it's more like your redemption, like after 2010, after you kind of got past that point in your life,
Oh
and
yeah.
now
Absolutely redemption.
that,
Yep.
but that, dude, it's a redemption and the mastery. But like to me, it's like the lyrics, the content, more of the inspiration is where I see the difference. The skill
Yep.
set's always been there. You've always
Yep.
delivered the product, but I think that's where the content, what you're saying, and I almost feel like your confidence, like your sound solidified, like you weren't all over the place. I feel like you once you got those albums started coming out. I mean, I wrote down your transformation. I think was I'm sorry, and then like middle of the road, and then like obviously bookend is actually I think what I would say middle of the road, really, and then like from then on in.
I, I'd say from relentless on, like
Okay,
from relentless.
you think
I'd
okay?
say from relentless was I think I kind of see what you're trying to say, and I agree. For me, my own opinion from the Relentless album coming out in 2010.
Well, you're writing it, so
Uh, the,
you are correct in the way. I'm just saying when I was trying to understand with all the lyrics and stuff.
Yeah, from Relentless coming on, I think it was a shift for me. You know what I mean? It was a shift. Not per se like you say in the skill set aspect of it, but like
Mindset, maybe your
mentally,
mind.
mindset was was a different. Was different, and and it is continuously shifting to me for the good. You know what I mean? Any shift to to worlds or avenues that's not been explored is a plus. Because out of all of them, I'm still incorporating stuff that I have acquired along the way from albums previous,
Hmm.
still in there, but just adding, some new nuances, some new spices. It's just like cooking up a meal, and and the ingredients that you choose to put in them. Uh, yeah, but yeah, for me, me personally, I would say from relentless on is where the mindset shift took precedence.
Yeah, and I think and lyrically and the
Yeah.
abundance, I was like of creativity, and I think that's I think you just hit on it. Is if I listen to albums, certain groups like you listen like it's a rock album, it's this album, whatever. Like you get in a mood for the album. Your last couple albums to me, I don't have to be in a mood. I just put it on because there's so many different flavors and styles going on. Where it's an amalgamation of a lot of different stuff. So I don't have to be like in a rock mood or a funk mood or a blues mood because calling you a blues player is just not fair. It's
It's
not
kind of
fair.
yeah,
It's just a
it's
line that
kind of
goes through your music. It's there,
exactly.
but it's
I
not.
agree. I agree. I agree. I wholeheartedly agree, man.
Um,
You hitting it on the head, man. And in my records, like you say, it don't have to be a particular mood that you're in because I mean, just subconsciously and just how I have managed to produce this sort of my albums. Like it's something on the record there for any mood. You know what I mean?
oh yeah,
So it's just, and that's because I'm massively influenced by a whole lot of stuff, and it just seems to come out on my records. Yeah, could I devote direct yeah? I mean, could I devote specifically to one style? I think that's been shown by the PGP records. I mean,
yep.
there was particularly one style that was more or less devoted to in those two projects.
Hmm.
And that's just some fucking hard fucking rock, psychedelic fucking rock. You know what I mean? devoted to there. You know, that was those two albums were where I definitely leaned more in that area of a genre, if you want to call it, on those two albums. Am I capable of staying in one particular lane? Yeah, I am. You know, but just me naturally as a musician and an artist, you know, it's all the arms on the octopus has to be utilized. You know what I mean? And
I do.
that's just who I am, and I
I think
can't
it's
help
better
it.
this way. No,
Yeah.
that's one of my favorite things about this evolution of you because it's grown to be this thing now. Because if someone said, I think the other day someone was asking about you, like, oh, and I'm be like, oh, do you like? I don't know who he is. I'm like, all right, check this out. Two albums I recommend for you. I would say if you
Mm.
like, obviously King's X, they're like, yeah. I go, okay, here, listen to this.
Right.
This is
Right.
your gateway drug introduction because Doug and Eric's voices are just so great together. It's just and the
Hmm.
music together is great. And then when you get to listen to
Thank
that,
you.
I want you to listen to The Crown because this is where he is now. And if you
Yeah.
like those two together, it's all good. Sit back because there's like about 20,000 albums you don't need to listen to now. You need to take a year off from work, hear all of his other work. But if you want
Yeah.
to get into something, it's good to put there, and then you always go back to The Crown because I think The Crown, which by the way, my wife saw the album cover last night. She goes, "I like that Crown." She was loving the way you
Thank
looked.
you.
She looked at the
Thank
full
you,
outfit
man.
you had on, the coat, and everything. I go, "I'm talking to him
Yeah.
tomorrow." So she gave you a thumbs up
Nice.
on
Tell her.
and I played the music for you. She's a big Hendrix fan. I go, "Well, you got to hear this guy do Hendrix," and she's like, "Oh wow!" So
Wow.
it was pretty cool.
Tell her I said thank you.
I will. I think I'm the new fan now. But the where you are now is and a couple of things you do that's very personal. I love the fact about you is your wife's involvement in the thing, and a lot of artists lately
Yeah.
have had their spouses or significant others involved in it. It's not like the cliche in the old days where a lot of spouses are so, the money management and running are so much smarter than the past town
Hmm.
floor or other management people. They're just on it. They know you. They can run the budget, the household, like
Yeah.
everything. And I want to
Hmm.
say, I just want to give a shout out to her because clearly there's been a huge difference in your career, you know.
Yeah.
And I want to
I
say,
agree.
so to
I
her,
agree.
let's do a
Yeah.
shout out to your wife. Well, we'll do a shout out to wives.
Absolutely.
I think
Absolutely.
I think what she's done has been fantastic. And so on that level, it's incredible. I do have a couple questions, and then we'll go into your album because you have a new album coming out too. I'll talk about. But
Sure.
at what point in your life, and it makes seem kind of pedestrian, when you went through all the addiction and ups and downs through the years, at what point do you you're like, this has got to change? It doesn't have to be a particular moment. Where is it a feeling where you're like musically or emotionally, you're like, I'm not feeling the excitement in the music anymore, or is it just, you know what I'm saying? Was it like what point were you just like, this is it, this is too much?
It was different periods in
Oh,
my
okay.
life, you know, different periods where that had come about. But where I actually took myself serious was about 2016 was where I really just fully dove in and said, you know what, let me really give myself a chance. I'm tired of really just, it was also, it was definitely, happened by way of some encouragement, from, my better half of
Once again,
musician.
right?
Yeah, yeah, it was
Yeah,
some. I mean, she'd
helping you
always
out,
been
helping you out.
ever since the day we met. Since the day we met, she was like, I'm not here to change who you are, this and this and that, but it's some things that I definitely feel like I don't know. She didn't know particularly what it was, but she knew that some things that I needed to change about myself personally that would benefit my life as a whole, which would benefit everything as a whole. And that's what I mean by some encouragement by way of her. I went on and said, you know what, let me try something different. If I don't like it, I always know what's waiting on me on this side, so I can always go back to this fucking misery. But let me try let me try something, and and then
Yeah,
we see what's happened. But for I would say that, but there were points up and through the my life that I just I always said, internally and sometimes very loudly that, damn, man, I'm fucking tired of this shit. But didn't never really, have the, nothing, even through prison and very dangerous altercations and situations in life, was it enough for me to follow through and do what it took for me to change it. You know what I mean? But something in 2016, and by way of just the whole shift in my relationships that I had been involved in my entire through my whole entire life, that there was just something different about her that was an incentive for me to, let me try something different. And and again, she is a gem. She's a gem,
He's a keeper.
and I hope everybody out there in the world can find their LaDonna, like like I so happened to stumbled up on mine. So yeah, that's pretty much that in a
Well,
nutshell.
thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that. And I know you've talked in the past, and I want to deep people can look back on the stuff. I just want, in case people weren't aware of it and just come across this interview, that if they are battling things, that there is hope, and just
Absolutely,
I don't want to sound
absolutely,
preachy,
man.
but I just want to take, if we could take a snapshot of what you've gone through, and it inspires me to look deeper, and they could face other demons they have, and maybe relate to you and help them. I just wanted to put that out there for other people without getting too
No
heavy on you.
problem.
You know what I'm saying?
No
I just think
problem. No
that's a
problem.
fantastic thing you've got through, and it helps other people. Do you think, is there parts when you write your music, and obviously you've shared and you put your music and your heart and soul to different things you've battled with? Have you written anything that's like too heavy emotionally, whether it's about not even about your past, but like love or death or addiction or anything, and then you play it
I
live,
don't
you're like, oh, this is big. This kind of bums me out almost because you know what I'm saying?
No,
Like an artist does
no.
that.
Never have I ever felt like it was too heavy. I mean, no, no, just to answer it in a very short
Okay. No,
way,
that's good.
no.
That's a good
It's,
answer.
the heavier it is, the more emotion that come out, and the tears roll, and it's just it's it is an insane amount of pain that I play from every night, going through the thoughts of stuff that I'm singing about and stuff that I'm have written about, and stuff that I'm playing about, that just causes this sense of a purge that is very indescribable. But it's in those times that they are the most relatable for some reason. When I'm playing in front of an audience of people that don't know me and I don't know
Mm.
them, but by the time I'm finished playing what I'm playing or what I've sang about, they got just a little bit of a glimpse of what it is that I'm talking about, and the things that that I'm playing about. And so I never I haven't played or done anything that I would say that was a little too deep, or
Okay.
the deeper it is, the better for me, actually.
It's visceral. I love it about you because it does feel like it's like you're doing your life story, an audio version of your life story. When you play, you put it out there in your heart. So I guess,
Yeah.
and from listening to you, and maybe you can correct me more because I'd like to understand the concept. When you're playing, obviously you're sort of leaving yourself. You're almost watching yourself. But if you're also sharing and reliving some moments because you go to the songs, are you like in a spot where it's like you kind
Y-
of, I don't even know how you'd explain it, because if you're kind of reliving some of the songs, the moments, the wrote them, but you're also ahead of yourself because you're inspired and you're surprising yourself. It's like a, like a trance, but it's very
Exactly.
sounds kind of psychedelic without the drugs. Like it sounds like it's
Right.
such a euphoric moment. You're trying to, you're in.
That's exactly what's happening. You described it very, very well. Very well. That's
That sounds
pinpoint
very
accurate.
intense, and I would never want that to end. And that's why that moment has got to be so fantastic without any influence of anything else outside of that, except for just music and love and energy. That you,
Yeah.
how can you not want that till the day you die? Like, you know what I mean? That's just,
Yeah, yeah,
that's the
yeah,
juice right
yeah.
there.
That's something that's worth chasing. If you want to chase a high, that's worth chasing right there.
Yeah, that is fantastic. A couple questions as we get to the end of this. I do want to say, let's talk about so you did the Duel of the Gods, the Crown, with one of the other guitar, Joe Bonamassa is just like fantastic. Also,
Hmm.
the King of Nerdville. You guys together, the solo. I love anytime I get you guys playing together. What was going through your mind in that session? I mean, that was like, were you feeling like this is the culmination of everything you've done? the inspiration? Like, where were you at that point? It was just
Just man, two kids in a sandbox having fun. uh Initially, that's where that's how and where our minds were, just sitting down jamming, man. It would just so happen to be on a world stage, and it came out wonderful. But it was very, very easy. And when I say easy and simple, the concept of it was easy and simple because we were doing stuff that we love to do, that naturally come to us to do, and sitting down like we were two guys in a music store that ran across each other and was just vibing and jamming together. And that's exactly where our heads was. And
okay.
and kind of, defined the bells and whistles, and tightened up a little this, a little that, and made a presentation out of it. And I Want My Crown is was the result.
It's a great album. I recommend people. I do want to say one thing before we talk about the new album. I do say when I watch you and him play live and do a thing, it's one of the things I think is the best part about the blues is in a blues like music is when they like the duel, the back and forth. It is no one's it's not a competition. It's done right.
Never. Not for me. Not
No,
for
no, no,
me.
no. I agree with you. Not for Joe. I'm saying, but that's one point out loud. It's like it's you guys flatter each other, you weave into each other, you compliment each other, almost like you actually are building a step for each other. I was just watching the other day, Gary Moore. I don't know if it was Buddy Guy or Gary Moore and somebody. It was an old thing. Obviously, Gary's not right either, and they were jamming, and they were just simple, even basic notes. They weren't doing crazy riffs, but it was so beautiful, and it was just they just compliment each other, and it really reminded me of when I've seen you and Joe do the same thing, where it's just a teamwork thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly. We're pushing each other, man. We're pushing each other. I'll play something and it'll make Joe say, "Wow, fuck, I gotta, I gotta, I can't have him one up me." And that way, it's a friendly competition within
Oh, of
our
course.
own selves internally. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
we're pushing each other to make the next riff be that much more. You know what I mean? We it's just it's awesome to do. And it's just awesome, man. When me and that cat, I mean, and others. I mean, not only him. I mean, I've had that same setting with others that that I've been so gratefully blessed to encounter. Eric Johnson,
Mhm.
Robert Randolph, Gary Clark, just to name a
I just watched
Kingfish.
You and Slash were just doing
And
something the other
Slash,
night. That was a
yes,
good jam. That was a
it's
good. You guys were riffing great together.
yeah, all of those cases and scenarios, the mindset is exactly what I just explained. That's
Okay.
where my head is. So it's ultimately just having fun, being very comfortable. No intimidation factors, none of that. No big me's, little them. No big them, little me's. It's just
Hmm.
we're as one, and building each other up, to, ultimately, have the onlookers, the fans be the winner. There's no winner per se from me or who I'm playing with perspective. There's a winner as far as the fans go.
I see that, and I do want to say, like when I saw like you play Slash, you brought a part of Slash out that I don't get to see because if he's playing with Guns N' Roses or different bands, he's more of a rockier band or something. But even with the jam that you're doing with Voodoo Child, it brought a part of him out. So you brought a part of him out that you don't usually see, which is such a compliment as an artist from you to do to bring it to him. That's a skill set on you also. So I agree with you, total sack. I would taking much of your time. I want to thank you, but I do want to talk about before we end. New album. Let's
Yes.
talk. Let's
So
talk your new album and your tour
yeah,
because I'm
yeah,
excited.
yeah, yeah. We've been off since like late October, early November, and we've been just off. And this has been the first time off that we've had in 12 years. So we took like 3, 4 months off, and we're just now starting to get back on the road. Starting this weekend, actually in Clearwater, Florida. It's a festival that's I forget the name of it, but it's on the website, and it's happening this weekend. And but during this time, the latter part of January, I went at the end and the end of January went down to Nashville and got 95% of the new record recorded. And Joe and Josh are producing it. It is a tribute record to my late brother, Little Jimmy King. And I got to tell you, man, I'm so excited and highly anticipating the world hearing this record, man. Because if the world don't know about my brother, Little Jimmy King, he was the godson of Albert King, by the way. And I think it was about time for me to pay homage to, my big brother. And dude, I got some special guests that's on this record that I'm gonna keep that as a, surprise for right now.
Yeah,
But I gotta tell
excellent.
you, this record, man, is gonna be. I don't have a title for it yet, but it may be something along the lines of "All Hail the King," "All Hail the King," Little Jimmy King, that is. Something in that facet, but it's amazing. I've got Mono Neon playing bass guitar. Uh, another high school friend of mine named Gerald Jenkins on organ and keys. Lanisha Randolph, Robert Randolph's sister, on background vocals. Josh is playing rhythm guitar. Of course, Joe makes an appearance or two on the record. I can say there is another duel on this record
Oh boy.
coming up. So and this time it's me, Josh, and Joe
Oh
uh,
wow.
on here. And there's another duel with another individual that I can't really say right now, but it's gonna be. I'm really happy about this record, and it will be out. I would say around August sometime. I would like to say around August, but it'll make it. It'll definitely be out before this year is out, and I'm really excited about that. And some other things I will say that involves movies that's coming out that I'm involved with. For the sake of they haven't came out yet, so I can't speak too much about it, but and, there's you just keep your eyes peeled. There's some things that I'm really excited about that's been being in the works, and for me to be involved in the soundtrack of this movie that's about to come out is going to be something pretty insane. I think I can go ahead and say it. There's this movie with the new Michael B. Jordan movie that's coming out on April 18th. It's called The Sinner, and Sin as in Sinner, and
Hmm.
the clips of the trailer looks like this is an amazing movie, and I have several very noticeable roles on the soundtrack of this movie that I think people that know who Eric Gales is, when you hear me playing, you're gonna know it's me. And this is huge for me. Like this is huge. This is the step and the opening of the door in that world that I've always
Oh,
wanted to be.
that's the best world, especially for money. Soundtracks and TV in that world, people do not realize you want to make money. There are people that just do
Dude,
that now. That you're
dude,
right. That's a bomb for money. Like
it
it's
is
finances.
it's amazing, and I will go on record to say that I have spoken about. This is my first time speaking about this on your podcast, so you got it
Well, I
first.
appreciate it. I appreciate
Um,
it.
and yeah, this is
Thank you.
that, and a lot of more, a lot of great touring dates that has come in. I can say that I have been waiting for quite some time, but man, I have gotten my first basically headline but co-headline date at Red Rocks this year.
Wow.
So that's happening on April
We're the
13th.
first to congratulate you
That
publicly.
Thank you, man. That's a week before this movie comes out, and it's a co-headline date with Lost Lonely Boys
Wow.
at Red Rocks, man. And I'm like, man, wow, it's just so much that's coming in. I'm so grateful, man. And then
Are
there's
you gonna record that? Are you gonna record that?
I'm sure somewhere,
It's
somehow,
Red
some
Rocks,
way,
man. You got to record that. You are
something's
you're
going to
so
happen.
tight. Gotta.
Something, I think it will be some kind of way. And
Oh,
I want to go on record and let you know there is a TV show that's being worked up, and that's as much as I can tell you about it. But I will be
I.
the
This is
host.
like
I will
Christmas for
be the
me.
host. I will
What
be
you're
the host.
sharing.
I'll be the host of this show, and I'll give you that much, and that's about it that I can tell you right now. But it will be, on national and international TV syndicate, and it's gonna be you're gonna be quite surprised when it comes out. Just know that you getting all of these fucking just in off the press
Thank you.
tidbits first, and I'm just that excited about everything that's happening, and things are, just looking up, onwards and upwards, and there's a whole lot more to come. And I wanted to say this, man. I've been holding my tongue, to tell you this the whole interview, but I can't be the first one that has told you this, and won't be the last, bro. You look and even sound like and got the same personality as fucking Tom Arnold. You had to know that I was about to tell you that.
I've never
You
heard that.
had no
No, I'll
way,
leave it in there. I've
no
never heard
way.
that. That's funny.
Dude,
Thank you.
dude,
He's
it's
funny. That's
crazy,
great.
bro.
That's funny.
It's
That's
crazy,
so
bro.
funny.
Wow, wow, it's crazy, man. I'm sitting here feeling like I'm doing a podcast with Tom Arnold.
That's great. That's great. That's great. Well, see, now you got the scoop on that one because I'm the first. I've never heard that before. So
I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you. That when the viewers see this, let's see what they think when the
I will.
comments
Okay.
come in, and
Yeah,
see
I'm
what they
sure
think.
they will. They will
But
do that. I
yeah,
want
yeah, I can't wait to. So when do you foresee this being
I'll put
ready
up
to?
tonight. Probably tonight. Tonight or
This
tomorrow.
is this is this is going up tonight.
Tonight or tomorrow. Yep. Yeah.
Nice, nice. Well, hey, man, hey,
I
for the
started all this
social
stuff
media,
last night. Yeah, to get it ready for you.
beautiful. The social media world, hey, man, I haven't done a whole lot of podcasts, but I may do a few more this year. But hey, it's my honor and pleasure to be a part of it. I don't know why I accepted this one, but hey, I did, and I'm glad that I did. And
I thank you. I mean,
this is fun. I mean, persistence is key, and
yeah, we
I
started
wanted
what
to be.
last year, right? I reached out to you
We
last
did,
year.
we
We
did,
did.
we did, we did, and I'm a man of my word, and we
You
made it
are.
happen. And this is awesome. And hey, who knows? I had such a wonderful time. I don't. Let's not let this be the last time. You know what I mean? Let's let's
I would
let's
love to
let's do
catch
it
up with
again.
you. Maybe when your album comes out, we can do a breakdown of your album. I'd love
Absolutely,
that. I'd be honored.
absolutely,
You know,
absolutely,
and
man.
people links underneath the show, streaming and podcast, everything goes underneath the show. Go to his site to follow
Yeah,
everything. His
yeah,
socials, obviously, everyone knows the drill. The socials, the Facebook, Instagram. He's very prolific on that, like everything else. The
yes, sir.
album, if you
Yes,
haven't
sir.
heard The Crown, go from The Crown to the King. Your
Hey,
new album. There you go, right there. You're going from Crown to the
bam!
King.
There you
There we
go.
go.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
So, Eric, thank you, man. I appreciate this. It's been the best. Thank you.
Thank you so much, man. I
Thanks, man.
appreciate
Thank
it,
you.
brother.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.